What's the number one way to motivate a buyer?
Sell their house.
Yeah, so what's your number one buyer?
Like
The
sellers.
sellers that you sold their house. That's number one. You're gonna keep those ones,
Yeah.
right? Because they want to work with you. You built a relationship with them already. They want you to keep helping them. What about the yard sign calls? You're gonna keep those?
Yes.
No, you refer them, you'll fill out the call, your assistant will fill out the call form, give them to your buyer agent that works with your team. Because you're a listing agent. So you just work on three things: going on listing appointments, negotiating and keeping deals together, and going on holidays. That's where you're headed. If you don't want to get there, that's okay. It's just another way to do real estate. You just
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do as many deals as little amount of time. That's all. So, it just depends. Sometimes some people just like to work by themselves, and they do fine, but they don't carry 20 listings. So, that makes sense? Okay, so let's see what we have here. I'm going to give you some tips on building a team. Number one, license all team members. So your buyer agent, can they take these leads and do them if they're not licensed?
No.
No, so obviously there's some we know have to be licensed. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, I'm just saying, if we have a team, we have ourselves, we have an executive assistant or two, and we have a buyer agent or two or three. And when we go on holidays, our executive assistant who's licensed, they should be licensed. Why should an assistant be licensed? You have to pay them more, so most realtors try to not do that.
Yeah.
But why would I say it's better to have them licensed?
Flexibility with them?
Hey?
More flexibility with them, or what they can do.
Yeah, they can do more, okay? So make a note of that, okay, gang? They can do more. If you're on holidays and an offer came in, they could do the negotiating. If there was a listing appointment that came up and somebody had to be there, your assistant could go, right? And before you go into being a pessimist and say, oh, great, now they're gonna see how everything works and then they're just gonna leave me and do all that. That's what some people think. They always look at the scarcity side of things. The optimistic top producer will say, you know what, I hope I teach them so good that they could leave, but they don't want to leave. So now I got somebody that's like a top producer, just wants to work 9 to 5, that'll step up for me when I need them, and I'm going to pay them really good. That's the kind of attitude you want to have. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so stay focused on building inventory. So I'm going to put up a few here and then just walk around a little bit. There we are. I think there's some there. So we've got license all team members and stay focused on building inventory. Building inventory meaning getting listings. I know when you get a buyer agreement signed, I call that inventory because they hired you, and it's the second best or the next best thing. But really, I'm talking about getting you to a level someday where you have a lot of listings, and as they sell, you're on more listing appointments and new ones are coming in, and you just have this control over your career with having listings. If there's a multiple offer situation, if you're on the buyer side, they may not choose your offer, true or true, right? And then you're out, you're done. Your buyers might even say, we changed our mind, we don't want to sell, buy now, and you lose them. But if you're on the seller side, doesn't matter what happens, unless your sellers change their mind too, but more than likely, if there's 10 offers, because we've had a market like that just a year ago. People were getting 5 to 25 offers on everything. It's not happening right now. Still, a little bit it does when people price things properly. You can still create some excitement. So let's see here. Oh, look at number 3. It is no longer me, it is we. Now that's meant for somebody that starts building a team, gets an assistant, has a buyer agent. But it also applies for those of you earlier that I said, remember, you have an office supporting you, you have a board supporting you, you have affiliates and different businesses you use regularly. That's still we, that's still your business, your team. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have lead by example. So, how you are with appearance is how your team will react. So if you wear jeans and a t-shirt, you go and tell them they have to wear suits or nice clothes, that's a contradiction, yes? You tell them they have to be on time and you're always walking in late. Like I'm talking about, like the team leader should be able to come and go as they please, but if the team leader says, I'll be there Monday at 10 to go over your leads and to talk to you folks about converting, and you come strolling in at 10 after 10 every single time that you say you're going to be somewhere, you're always 10 minutes late, That's not a very good example, would you agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're gonna be, this will sound kind of goofy. Let's say you're always late. So you tell everybody, okay, we'll have our meeting at 10, I'm always late, so all of you can be late as well. So come in whenever it works. Well, that's not gonna work for to make your team very effective, is it? So who needs to change? Is it you making them late, or for them that are supposed to be on time coming because you're leading by example, right? Never run by the seat of your pants. Have you heard that saying before?
Yeah.
Never run by the seat of your pants. It's a very common saying. That's when people are just reacting to everything. We call it going the way the wind blows. That means they don't have any plans, they don't have a day timer, they don't have anything scheduled, they just react to whatever happens. And they go that way, and then they're going that way, and then they're going this way. Have you ever talked to people like that? You know, like, talk to them on the phone. I had a couple of people I was talking to this week. I'm putting my classes together in the new year, and we're just finalizing everything for sponsors and hotels last week, and we got it all done. And I remember talking to this one mortgage sponsor, and she had just talking to her, I felt like it was just the conversation felt like she was too rushed to talk to. She was flying by the seat of her pants. And then I could hear somebody else talking to her, and I could hear she was doing something, and then she'd say something, and then when I'd say something, I could tell she wasn't listening, right? Never run by the seat of your pants. So, if any of you are thinking of building a team to another level, you should consult your broker or manager for a couple of reasons. One, they've already built an office or a team to some degree, and they have some experience, right? You have experience on that. And a little consultation on that could be very valuable and appreciated by your broker as well, all right? So consult them, and try not to, when you build a team and you want to bring a realtor on board, 2 ways to look at it. One, don't recruit from within, like go and ask somebody else that's at the same office until you've talked to your broker first. Because they're the one that attracted them in the first place. They may say, yeah, no, that's fine, but always check with them first. Sounds good?
Yes.
Because I know what makes the broker even happier is if you're building a team and you start pulling in realtors from other companies into the office. They would like that even more, okay? So that's what that means. So there's a saying here by Tommy Hopkins. It says, businesses that fail to plan are actually doing what?
Planning to fail.
Yeah, planning to fail. That's very powerful when you really look at it. It's only a few words. So it's not businesses that are failing to plan will grow eventually. That doesn't say that. It says businesses that fail to plan will just have less business for a while. It doesn't say that. So it doesn't say that if you're not planning that you're going to be stuck somewhere. It literally says if you're not planning, you're actually planning to fail completely. So if you don't have a plan, it's not like you're just waiting to see what happens. You're actually on your way out of the business. That's what I've been talking about for the last few weeks. We were saying some of our production got a little low. As people don't realize it. You know, in every board, about 50% of the realtors either make no money or very low amounts of money. Extremely low. So why would they be in the business? You know, what are they doing? They're paying their dues, which is thousands of dollars a year, and they're actually making no money. So these people, even though on paper or with the membership says they're realtors and they're in the board, there's some that have never made any money for years. So they really are not in the business. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
That's true, yeah. Okay, so let's go to number what, 8?
Yes.
Number 8.
Ooh.
Okay. Number 8. Create a manual for each position. So, for the people that are new, it's going to be really hard for you to really want to invest any thinking in this, let alone commitment to building the team. For those of you that are new, if you can still think this way, you'll get there faster. I know of a fellow that he was selling cars for quite a few years. He was in his early 20s. And one day, I guess, he said, I'm going to be a realtor, right? But his thinking was, I'm going to build one of the biggest teams in this city. And I'm not talking about this city, I'm talking about Edmonton. And he said, and I knew him personally, he said, I'm going to build a team, and I'll be part of the team, and I'll sell with the team until the team can take over everything. At some point, I'll just be the team leader. I'll be the guy that's on the marketing and all that kind of stuff. And so his first year, he had a plan. And his plan was to sell as many as possible. And he got an assistant right away. When he got licensed, he got an assistant. So he knew he wasn't going to fail. He for sure had a plan, and he was doing it. His first year with his assistant, he did 160 deals.
Wow.
160. That was in 1991. So he's been at it for 30 years. And the next year, or even in that first year, he had somebody that he had to help with the leads because he couldn't keep up. So in the second year, he had more people on his team. After 10 years, he had, on a regular basis, 15 people on his team, and about 6 or 7 that he could really count on.
Yeah.
And then he stopped going on listing appointments, and he stopped doing any of the negotiating. He just was the team leader. And it's 20 years later, which is 30 years since he started. And for the last 20 years, he's still, and when it comes to all the names and everything, I'll say them at the break if you don't mind. All right?
Yeah.
So we don't need to say a bunch of stuff like that right now. I want to record everything, give you all the information, but I just want to let you know there's somebody that built a team, and for 20 years out of the 30 years, they have not been on any listing appointments. And on the stats, it shows that this fella, because it's just his name, has done 525 deals a year on average. 525. What do you think of that?
Mind blowing.
You know? So he had a plan. Isn't that right? So to create a manual, this may sound like a little bit of work when we're trying to get some business, yes? So I can make it really easy for you to create a manual. Keep track of everything you do for 2 weeks in a blank journal, a little book. Buy one at Staples. Could you do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what you do, I'm going to take off the 10,000 and put it up again after I put something up here for you. What you do is do all your prospecting, set up all your marketing, convert all your leads, book your face-to-face meetings, get your listings, right? Deal with your offers, work with some buyers, write some offers, keep deals together, get conditions removed, follow through to possession. So if you don't get all that stuff done in 2 weeks, you may have to keep track for 4 weeks. Depends what level you're at. Sounds fair? So you keep track of everything. And what you do at some point is you're going to take and you're going to look at all the things you did. And what you do is you just keep track. It's really easy. It's like just doing a journal every day. So I had a listing appointment today. And then I had lunch with, business lunch. And then I broker loaded the listing. And then I sent out all the marketing and I did online stuff for this. Then an offer came in. I dealt with an offer. Then I ordered this sign. Then I did, you keep track of everything. And after 2 weeks to a month, I want you to cross off all the things that would apply to those 3 things. What were the 3 things a top producer should do?
Go on listing
Go on listing appointments.
Keep
deals together.
Negotiate offers and keep deals together. Go on holidays. Everything that's left, your assistant could do for you, yes?
Yes.
true.
Yeah? Like, could your assistant order a yard sign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can your assistant put everything online?
Yeah.
Can your assistant follow up to make sure the conditions get removed?
Yeah.
Right.
Can your assistant, advertise an open house and have another agent go and attend it, sort of thing? I mean, the assistant can do 80% of what you're doing right now. And then what you do is you take those activities that an assistant would do and understand one thing, that until you hire an assistant, there still is an assistant working for you right now. And who do you think that is?
Me.
Yeah, it's you, the realtor. The realtor, even brand new, you're doing the admin stuff and you're doing the realtor stuff. The problem is most newer people, especially newer people, can't separate the two. They think that doing this other stuff, the admin stuff, is what a realtor does. And I'm saying it's not. I'm saying that when you have a team, you are going to be doing those 3 things: getting listings, negotiating offers, and keeping deals together, and taking breaks, so you can be fully charged. And right now, I'm not saying hire an assistant. I'm saying recognize that you're doing the assistant work, and that's worth about 20 or 30 bucks an hour. Because what are you worth as a realtor an hour? 20 bucks?
No.
What?
No. More.
Yeah, way more. Okay? So let's break it down to the categories that you would put them in. So if you had an executive assistant manual, let's see about breaking down those activities into 5 sections in the executive assistant manual. Okay? Let's see about that. So, some of the first activities you ever do is about trying to get some business, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I would say that anything that's in that journal that has to do with marketing or advertising would be in that first section. So just picture this. Captain, can I see your team booklet there, please? Thank you. So you create a booklet, something like this. Do you see it? Everybody? And it would say, you know, your name, executive assistant manual. And you might have a picture of you on the back, and you're going to create it. It's probably going to be about, 20 pages. Okay? And then what you would do, when you open the page, the first page would say index. It would have the 5 sections. And there's the first section. And now, it might say the 5 sections, and then the next page, or you could do it all on the first page. But it'd say, number 1, marketing and advertising section, and those activities that you're already doing them, I know that. And I'm just letting you know that if you're trying to get an assistant sooner, you got to get to 50 deals, and as soon as you need an assistant, you should be able to just hand them the manual. Tell them to look this over, and we'll start getting them, the duties, and we'll follow up. But you got it already figured out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And in there, it'll say marketing and advertising section, pages, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and it might have some of the activities. So what's an activity that an assistant, that you're doing right now, but what's an activity that an assistant could do for you when it comes to marketing and advertising?
Posting on social media.
So you have your social media, and so remember, we don't have to put these down right now, because if you keep track, you're already doing it, yes? Now you just go and you just say, okay, so I got my section, and then when you go through your journal, you go, okay, so I did a Kijiji ad, and I did postcards and all this. So you start putting in, postcard to our GeoFarm area and a description on how they would do it. So that would save you time when you hire someone. Does that make sense? So you just keep track of what you did. Let's see what another section is. Like if we're marketing ourselves and your assistant is doing all the marketing, what are we trying to get from the marketing? We're trying to get the phone to ring so we can get what?
Cha-ching.
So we can get what? Appointments. Exactly. Appointments. So what can your assistant do when you look on the list there? What might pop up on this that they can do for appointments? They could bona fide the appointment. They could be on the phone with somebody who calls the office. They could do the prospecting track. They could do the call form. They could do. They could send the pre-list. They could bona fide the appointment. They could do all that for you. And so when you now that doesn't mean you won't do some still, but when you just want to have a licensed assistant who's trained. I've had assistants in my classes that work for somebody. They get paid good bucks, and they really help the realtor or the team leader. Okay. And from appointments, what are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to build? Any idea? Inventory.
Listings.
Okay, inventory. So for the appointments, could your assistant put together the folder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what color is it for a seller?
Yeah.
Yellow.
And for a buyer?
Blue.
Blue, let's say, right? So they would have there's a folder checklist you got from me in the class. And if an appointment is, but let's say you booked it. You might just call your assistant and say, I got an appointment booked for Thursday at 1 o'clock. It's a seller. I'm going to email you or text you the address, full title. But you don't have to tell them. You just say, get it ready for me. They already know because in the book, it says this is what the folder checklist is, and the key box needs to be ready. And all you do is come to the office, grab your folder. It's already made. Even the CMA or the comparables are already in there. Your assistant can do that, yes?
Yes.
As long as they know how to do it. And you grab your key box, and you grab your sandwich board, and you're out the door. Right? So now you go on your appointment. So remember, make a note, at least an example of each section, what goes in there. Because when you keep track, you just take that and put it into this section. Right? Now when you come back, let's say you get the listing. Key box is on, right? You're going to have the key box registered. The assistant will be able to, you got 20 different key boxes. The assistant will make sure that they know all the, all the information. And when you come back to the office, you just go, here, I got the listing. And you don't even have to tell them what to do. Because in here it says what they're gonna do when you get what?
In
Inventory. So what do they do with this? Do they just go, oh, that's good? Do they do that? Or what do they do? They process it, yes? They're gonna process the listing. They're gonna see on the back cover, right here, you have your listing checklist. There's 10 things to do to market a listing. They can do all that for you, can't they?
Yeah,
Can they broker load?
yeah,
If they're licensed.
yes,
Can they order the sign?
yeah,
Can they call the company to go by and measure it and take photos?
yes,
Can they get somebody to do the video?
yes,
Can they put it on the internet?
Yes.
Can they
Yeah.
order the the just listed postcards?
Yeah.
Can they, you know, it's all in there, right? So now it's on the market.
yes.
What do we want to happen to our inventory?
Sell it,
So what's the next category?
sell,
Sales and closing,
to change.
Change.
right? So an offer comes in. The realtor has to deal with it. That's you. So we keep deals together, right? So that's my listing. My assistant's been doing all kinds of stuff for me, but now the assistant calls and says there's an offer. I'll say, send it to me. And then I'll deal with it accordingly, right? And once it's firmed up, if they agreed on a price, could I send it to my assistant so she can update everything to, you know, do the transaction record sheet? Could she or he do
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
Yeah, they could send it in, and could they follow up so the buyer agent removes conditions?
Yeah.
And they can keep me updated?
Yeah,
And they can even keep the client updated personally for me.
Yeah.
They can do that as well. So you got a bunch of items again in this little journal that you're keeping track, isn't that right? Do you see how much stuff you guys are doing? Stuff, like there's stuff, and then there's important stuff like admin, all this other stuff again, we're getting stuffed, aren't we? So and then what happens after we have a closing, like people take
Okay.
possession of a place? What's the next thing that we can have our assistant do? So people moved in, I gave them the envelope, right? Okay, what happens next? I left, and what happens next? We have a business, yes?
Yes.
And business relationship sales is the way to do business, yes?
yes,
So what are we trying to do with these people? We're trying to get repeat
Clients.
business, right? Okay, so we should make sure we have a follow-up program. All right. Program. And how do you do your follow-up program? So they took possession of their house. They're gonna do the questionnaire, and it's a quick testimonial and send it back to you, prepaid envelope for our stamp and all that stuff, right? And what do we do to keep in touch with them?
Newsletter.
Newsletter, postcard.
Newsletter every single month. Now, they may not get our postcard if it's not in our Geo Farm area, but if it is, they will also, okay? So, name 2 more things on how you keep in touch with your past clients.
Phone them
So you phone them how often? A minimum of?
once a quarter.
Yeah, once a quarter or twice a year, let's say. And what else? One more thing you do. Client appreciation event every year, okay? So make sure you do those, okay? You'd be shocked if you did every single thing we teach, and it's all in your book. You'll probably do $1 million a year working 30 hours a week or less, and you'll have a full-time assistant and 1 or 2 buyer agents taking those extra leads. Doesn't that sound pretty amazing?
Yes.
Yeah.
$1 million. And you won't be working anywhere near as much as some of the people that just won't follow a lot of the stuff. They're flying by the seat of their what? Yeah, you just really need to pay attention to all these little things. Okay, gang? So what we're doing is creating a position before we hire. So if you're brand new, you still want to have this on your radar. You still want to say, you know what, I'm going to keep track of what I do. It's a good habit anyways. And after I've done maybe 10 deals, I'm going to start working on my manual for an assistant. And I'll just know that by this time next year, because I'm staying on track with all the little things, I'll have my manual created. I may be able to hire someone. And just so you know, how you hire someone is like, best thing to do is put an ad on Kijiji saying, busy team looking for an executive assistant. And put a little bit about, you know, must be friendly on the phone and must be good with administration. Full-time position is considered. And then you put, make sure you make a note of this. Don't ever put your phone number. Make sure you make a note of that. Don't ever put your phone number. Put send resume to and tell them no emails, please. Oh, no, not no emails, because they're gonna email it. Send the resume to and put your email address and then your company, okay? Just remember that. Don't ever put your phone number. And when you get the resumes, this is what you do. You look over the resumes. You don't have to reach out back to all of them. Many people put out resumes and go, don't hear nothing. So don't worry about that so much. But you take the ones you like and you interview all of them at once. So make a note of that. So you'll say, you've been chosen for the interview process for our executive assistant position. Please confirm if you can attend our meeting. There will be food, there will be a few other people that we're considering, and it'll be at the AMG office on Saturday at 10 a.m. And I've done it personally, where I went and got a couple of assistants, right? And so they all come in and you're gonna have some food, and you're gonna take your booklet and you're gonna give everybody a copy of the booklet. And you're gonna go through the booklet with putting it on PowerPoint. And you're gonna say, let's go through it all, and you're gonna kind of teach a little bit. And then at the end, you're gonna have little recipe cards where you're just gonna say, if you're interested in this position, put your name and number and check off yes, and we'll follow up with you. And then they all leave. And then you just follow up with the one that gave you the cards back. You hire one and let the other one or two say you're gonna probably hire a few more people in the near future as well, and they might be considered for that. So if you made some good notes on that, you'll definitely use it at some point. Let's see here. Next is, you want to create a team independent of you. Definitely independent of you. So you could be in the Mediterranean for a month and literally not even have to talk to your team and come back and have made 50 grand. But again, if you don't believe that could happen, it'll never happen. If you do believe it'll happen, then you still have to do all the little things to line it up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, don't fool yourself. Again, if there's a lot of new people in the class, like I said, so your mindset will be, yeah, I'm not ready for. And so what happens is you don't take in the knowledge. So if you feel that's happening to you, then take lots of good notes, because a year from now you'll be going like, you know what? I'm ready for someone. What did Dwayne say again? And you can say, I'm going to go look back at my reference guide. Where's your reference guide?
On the other side.
Your manual. And you can go back. You can even call me and say, where did you talk about an assistant? And I'll say it was the first half of lesson 7. Oh yeah, and you'll know you did good notes. That's what that blank page is for, right? And you can go back there and you can get going, right? If you just kind of block it out and you're just thinking about something else right now, right? You're missing out on an opportunity to have an amazing team someday, okay? And the other thing is, pay off your assistants and buyer's agents with big rewards and set goals. Big rewards. So that one fellow I told you that had 4 assistants did quite well. He retired recently. He's been a realtor for 50 years. He did a lot of real estate in Edmonton, but he also lived in Victoria. And he flew home every weekend, every Friday. And he did 200 deals a year with his 4 assistants. Sounds interesting, eh? And again, if people have job mentality, you can't even relate to that. Living in Palm Springs for 6 months, doing 100 deals, you can't relate to that. Flying to 2 cities and going home every weekend and not even worried about what's going on because you have 4 assistants, can't relate to it. So that mentality has to change to get there. If it doesn't, you can still do okay in real estate, but it's a lot of work, that's all. So what would be a big reward? So first of all, what do you think is a good salary for an executive assistant that's licensed, that does all this stuff that we're talking about? What do you think is a good hourly rate? Give me a number.
25?
45, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, 45 is about right. You know, maybe 35 to start. $35 an hour to start, and say 3-month probationary period, and after that it's $45. That sounds pretty good. You know, anything less than that, you get what you pay for. That's just the way it works. And then what he did, so my first assistant was 25 years ago now, I guess, and they got paid $20 an hour. 25 years ago. What's $20 an hour worth now? Probably 40.
60.
Probably 40 or something, right? Yeah, I mean, I knew somebody who was in the trades in the early 90s that were getting paid $22 an hour, like journeyman, and now I think they get 60. So yeah, it'd be about 3 times more. But this was the late 90s, so yeah, it'd be probably 45 would be something like the going rate to get a good licensed assistant, $45 an hour. Now, again, if your mindset is, I wouldn't pay that, that's too much, is not what we're talking about. It's somebody that knows that when you pay, it's a profit center. If you're paying somebody $50,000 a year because of them, you're making another 100 over top coming back in. Because they're doing all this stuff, you're able to go on more appointments, all this stuff. That's the mindset. In fact, the fellow I was mentioning, he would let the assistants know that if they hit their monthly quota on sales, and his might have been, $50,000 a month, or no, he was doing $1 million a year, so $100,000 a month. Every time they hit his monthly income quota, they all got a bonus. Back then it was $500 when I last talked to him about 10 years ago. So think about that. If you give somebody a $500 bonus, but if you made $100,000 a month, it's not that much to pay somebody a little extra if they're pushing to try and get you there. So that's what we call payoff with pizzazz or big rewards. And what he did also is if they hit their yearly goal, $1 million, he sent the assistants and their whole family to Disneyland for a week. So how motivated would they be to stay, and how motivated would they be to make calls for you and proactively prospect, follow through and follow up? What do you think?
Very.
So would you be okay with having one assistant where, let's say you're trying to make $500,000 a year, $500,000, you have to pay them $50,000, and they're the ones that help you get to the $500,000. Not like you're at $500,000 now, you're giving away money. It's like if you didn't use them, you're making $300,000. Now you're using them, you're making $500,000. You have to pay them $50,000, and the bonuses might run you a couple grand extra and a trip to Disneyland. Is it worth it?
Yes.
If you do it right, it is, okay?
Are you ready? Yeah.
So weekly reports and accountability. Oh yeah, goals are back on, income goal for every month, pay some bonuses. And then weekly reports and accountability. This program, when you guys handed in A6 and A7 today, I want to let you know the idea of how that works and where we got them from. We're from top producers that use them all the time.
Yeah.
Top producers will keep track of their weekly activities, their weekly stats. Yeah, let me see that weekly report there and the A7 behind it. Okay, so outside of the class, this is where I found this stuff. And it didn't look exactly like this, but the same idea. Some of the top producers that I mentioned and a few others would keep track of everything they did for a couple months. And they would also use a page where they put down exactly how many listings and sales they got. This one fella, he would look at it at the end of every year and analyze where he could improve himself. Just getting better and better all the time. That's why he worked fewer hours all the time. And number 14, praise in public and critique in private. Kind of like how you should be with your kids too, I guess, right? You know, if you have to discipline somebody, you get a private conversation. And if somebody's doing a great job, praise them in public. Speaks for itself. Yes? And invest in training and technology, gang. So your assistant, especially licensed. Now if you get an unlicensed assistant, you might want to work at getting them licensed.
Yeah.
Now yeah, you're going to have to pay more. So, but again, watch out for your mindset. If you're thinking, some people are just cheap. They say, well, I'm not paying $45 an hour. I'll get an unlicensed assistant for 25 or 30. And so they're nickel and diming everything down to save